This Matsunaga guy. He's known as the villain of the Warring States, but he hasn't been doing anything. This quote comes from Sarutobi Sasuke in the middle of the 7th episode of the Sengoku BASARA Samurai King's first season. I've often thought about this quote, and it has made me wonder, is Matsunaga Hisahide as villainous as he's been portrayed? Welcome back to the Sengoku Archives, and in this episode, we're going to answer that question. Matsunaga Hisahide was a notorious figure from the Sengoku Jidai, who held power in Kyoto and Yamato province. He was a well-known schemer, and is remembered for his assassination of the shogun Ashikaga Yoshiteru, the destruction of Todaiji Temple, and his betrayal against Oda Nobunaga, which resulted in his fiery death. He is viewed by many historians as a villain, but I believe Matsunaga is not this villainous figure. In order for me to explain my reasoning on this, I will talk about Matsunaga's life, and debunk some of the common misconceptions about the man. These misconceptions have led to the idea that Matsunaga was a cruel man, when in reality, he was no different from other samurai who lived during this era. Matsunaga Hisahide, sometimes known as Matsunaga Danjo Hisahide, is a bit of a mysterious figure. We do not know much about his childhood and early years, but he is first mentioned in sources serving under the Miyoshi clan by 1540. It is unclear if he was governor of Kyoto by this point or not, for one source does state that he became governor of the capital city as early as 1529. He served under Miyoshi Chokei, who was an early childhood friend. Along with the Miyoshi, Matsunaga went on a campaign to take over Yamato province. By the 1560s, Matsunaga began his takeover of the Miyoshi clan. Between 1561 and 1564, it is said that Matsunaga was responsible for the deaths of 3 of Chokei's brothers and his son and heir to the Miyoshi, Yoshioki. When Chokei died in August of 1564, Matsunaga was the one left in power over the Miyoshi. There was one younger heir to the Miyoshi, Yoshitsugu, who was left in care of the Miyoshi triumvirate: Miyoshi Nagayasu, Miyoshi Masayasa, and Tomoichi Iwanari. In 1565, Ashikaga Yoshiteru, the 13th Ashikaga shogun, wanted to break free from the grasp of the Miyoshi and Matsunaga clans, who held power in Kyoto. On June 17, 1565, Yoshiteru was cornered in the capital by Matsunaga and the Miyoshi clans, and committed seppuku. It was after this betrayal in Kyoto that the Miyoshi clan and Matsunaga would have an on-again, off-again alliance. For the next couple of years, the two clans waged war in Yamato, sometimes with each other, sometimes together, facing a common enemy. During this entire time, Matsunaga Hisahide still held power in the capital. In 1567, it is said that Matsunaga burned and looted the Great Buddha Hall, Todaiji, in Nara, an act that was condemned by all in Japan. When Oda Nobunaga arrived in Kyoto in 1568, Matsunaga fled the capital originally. He would later surrender to Nobunaga and presented him Hatsuhana, a tea caddy which is known to be a tsukumogami, an antique Chinese vessel that are believed to be possessed by spirits. Under Nobunaga's command, Matsunaga made himself useful. He continued his war with the Miyoshi clan, which now had the backing of the Oda clan. He also helped Nobunaga retreat at the Battle of Anegawa, which he and Tokugawa Ieyasu believed that was the best option. To avoid the Azai army, a friend of Matsunaga's sent a local guide to help them through the mountains. Nevertheless, Matsunaga Hisahide still wanted power for himself, and was not satisfied with serving under Nobunaga. Matsunaga conspired against Nobunaga twice. The first time was when the new shogun, Ashikaga Yoshiaki, called on some of the most powerful clans to help stop Nobunaga. Matsunaga was allied with Takeda Shingen, on the promise that he would help Matsunaga regain his influence in Kyoto. This plan fell through, however, due to the death of Takeda Shingen and the fall of the Ashikaga shogunate. Matsunaga then betrayed Nobunaga during the siege of Ishiyama Honganji. Nobunaga sent his eldest son, Nobutada, and Tsutsui Junkei to Shigisan Castle. Nobunaga offered Matsunaga to surrender willingly under one condition: Matsunaga would hand over Hiragumo, a tea kettle that Matsunaga highly prized. Matsunaga refused, and Nobunaga had Hisahide's two youngest sons crucified. Matsunaga then killed himself, either by means of seppuku or blowing himself up with the famous Hiragumo tea kettle. Another theory on his death is that he killed himself and ordered for his head to be destroyed along with Hiragumo. Shigisan went up in flames, and the siege lasted only 10 days. The people in Kyoto apparently celebrated Matsunaga's death with 3 days of sake drinking. A grave is all that remains of Matsunaga Hisahide today. Matsunaga Hisahide has been portrayed as a villain for many years. Many point to 3 specific things that make him this so-called villain: the murders of the Miyoshi heirs, the assassination of Ashikaga Yoshiteru, and lastly, the destruction of Todaiji. Are they credible? Starting with the murders, let me start by saying that none of them have been confirmed to have been done by Matsunaga personally. Considering that by the time all of these deaths have taken place, Matsunaga became the most powerful man within the Miyoshi clan, it is easy to see how many people believe that he was responsible for all these deaths. Some recent explanations for a couple of the deaths was a fatal injury from a fall from a horse, or illness. It is also possible that Matsunaga managed to convince Choke to kill another brother of his, but this brother was struggling with Choke to gain control of the Miyoshi clan. At least to me, this does not seem any different than Nobunaga ordering the death of his younger brother, Nobuyuki, to gain control of the Oda clan after their father's passing. Family members killing each other and people betraying their lords or using them for more power was not such an uncommon thing, so I'm not too sure why Matsunaga is being vilified for doing what most people did during this age. This can also be tied to the assassination of Ashikaga Yoshiteru. Matsunaga Hisahide's major claim to fame is that he assassinated the 13th Ashikaga shogun, Yoshiteru. While Matsunaga did conspire with Miyoshi Yoshitsugu to assassinate the shogun, he did not personally lead the attack on the shogun's residence in Kyoto. That honor went to Miyoshi Yoshitsugu and Matsunaga's son, Matsunaga Hisamichi. At this point, the Ashikaga clan were puppets to whoever held control of the capital during this time, which happened to be the Miyoshi clan. While Yoshiteru was trying to shake off the strings and re-establish the Ashikaga shogunate, the Miyoshi saw this as a threat when it came to their influence over him, which led to his assassination. While this can be seen as villainous, this allowed for Oda Nobunaga to take further steps toward reunification under the guise of restoring the Ashikaga shogunate, which would ultimately fail, but in the end, paved the way for reunification under Tokugawa Ieyasu. Lastly is the second burning of the Great Buddha Hall, known as Todaiji. For years, the burning of this great temple has been traced back to Matsunaga Hisahide, but no one can give a reason why Matsunaga burned down Todaiji. Now, we have gotten the truth. The temple was actually burned by a zealous Christian samurai that served under the Miyoshi clan, who were then at war with Matsunaga in 1567. This account comes from Luis Frois, the Portuguese missionary who kept a detailed account of the events in Japan during his time there. In the process of vilifying a man who has not done anything, was wrongfully accused of doing something, or was just doing what most people did, history has nearly forgotten the achievements Matsunaga Hisahide accomplished during his lifetime. While Matsunaga is portrayed as a villain, he has made some interesting contributions to the architectural and Christian worlds. It is noted that Matsunaga Hisahide constructed Tamon Castle in 1567. While nothing remains of it today, sources claim that it is the first Japanese castle to have a tower keep. Only a few of these types of castles in Japan remain today from the 16th century. His work on Christianity goes deeper. While Matsunaga was not a Christian, he inadvertently helped Christianity spread across Japan. As a devout Buddhist from the Nichiren sect, he was not fond of the Christians who began arriving in Kyoto during the 1560s. While they were given a pardon to preach in the capital by Yoshiteru, Matsunaga, who was still governor of the city, was getting complaints from the Buddhist priests wanting the Christians removed from Kyoto. Even Matsunaga's retainers backed the Buddhist priests. One of Matsunaga's retainers, Takayama Zusho, proposed an idea to him. Zusho said that a study should be done to determine if the Christian preaching went against the Japanese religions, and remove the missionaries' heads if that proved to be the case. Matsunaga agreed to this and got two of the best minds of the era to look into the matter. In the early summer of 1563, an astronomer named Yuki Yamashiro no Kami Toramasa and a Confucian scholar, Kiyohara Ikata, began their research on Christianity, and it produced an outcome Matsunaga was less than thrilled about. At the end of their investigation, both scholars asked to be baptized. Takayama Zusho would follow suit with his son, Takayama Ukon, who centuries later would be on the path to sainthood in the Catholic Church. This victory for the missionaries was short-lived, for after Yoshiteru's assassination, one of the first things Matsunaga did was ban the Christians from the capital. That would not be the last time he would have to deal with them, though. In 1567, Shibata Katsui was sent by Nobunaga to defeat Matsunaga at Sakai, a battle which happened to fall on Christmas. On Christmas Eve, Father Louis Froys confronted the generals on both sides, asking them to set aside their differences and join him to celebrate the Eucharist. Surprisingly, both armies answered the Father's call, and both sides celebrated the Blessed Sacrament. The battle was fought the next day, ending in Matsunaga retreating from Sakai. In pop culture, we are given the same narrative that history has given us for so long. They continue with the idea that Matsunaga Hisahide was one of the worst figures to come from the Sengoku Jidai. As more information comes to light, however, I do not believe that is the case for him. He acted like most people did during this era, scheming in the shadows to put his clan in a better position. He managed to gain control of the Miyoshi clan, and with the death of Yoshiteru, he managed to gain control of Kyoto. We now know that he was not responsible for the destruction at Todaiji, but was rather blamed for the destruction for generations. We have overlooked his architectural work, and how he inadvertently furthered Christian expansion within Japan. In truth, Matsunaga Hisahide was said to be a handsome man who was a patron of the arts and a lover of the tea ceremony. Unfortunately, historians and even pop culture references still portray him as a villain, considering that he is one of many who took part in the phenomenon known as Gekkokujo. I believe history needs to re-examine Matsunaga Hisahide, not as a villain, but as one of the Gekkokujo pioneers of the age. Thank you so much for watching! Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's next. I'll see you all next time!